and welcome to this SCDM State of the Industry webinar. Many of you will already know Mayank Anand, who is, of course, the new or the newish chair for 2022. But today it's a chance to really get to know him and to hear a sense of his vision for the clinical data management industry. So Mayank will be delivering his keynote address. And we are also joined by three other SCDM Executive Committee members who are going to join our discussion. So let me introduce Arshad Mohammed, who is the Executive Director for Clinical Data Management at LabCorp. Mariah Craze might be joining us from MSD. We're not sure because Mariah, because of things that are happening in the world, has been pulled away to a meeting. And we're also joined by Sanjay Bhardwaj, Head of Data Science, Clinical Technology Strategy and Operations at Adaptv, and of course was in the chair for last year, 2021. He's having a break now, but he's with us today. So they're joining us from the US. And Mayank, you're joining us from India, from Bangalore. You're VP and Head of Global Data Strategy and Management for Global Clinical Operations at GSK. So really wonderful to see you. Let me just say to everybody watching that we want to hear your questions. So please, through Slido, send us your questions and we will get to as many as we can with our panel after we have heard from Mayank. So Mayank, how are you? I mean, tell us a little bit about yourself because, you know, here you are, you're the new chair. Some people know you, some people don't. And why did you want to be chair?
Thank you, Kathy, and good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everyone across the world. And I can say you that I have two people who have inspired me to be in this role sitting on this call, that is Sanjay and Arshad. Over the years, the work they have done for SCDM and motivated me too, a few years back, to be part of the society. I think so the key reason for me to be associated with SCDM is to do the right advocacy which is required for our industry. Our industry has grown, our industry has evolved. And I think so SCDM has played one key role in last 20, 25 years to bring this industry together. And I think so I find it very, very fascinating when I'm associated with SCDM, when I go to their webinars, conferences, meet people, and there's so much of learning over the years, which is helping me to evolve over the period of time. So definitely for me, a platform which I always use to connect with people, learn, educate, and also do an advocacy at all levels within the industry.
Well, I'm sure that Sanjay will tell you that a year is a very short time to be chair, but we're very keen to hear what your vision is for the year ahead. So we're going to let you take the stage now and deliver your keynote, and then we will ask you some questions, also our panelists some questions. So remember, everybody watching, please send any of your questions on Slido while you are listening to Mayank. So Mayank, it's over to you.
Thank you. And can I have the presentation? Perfect. So my first slide actually sets up the stage. If this statement I would have given around 10 years back, I would have been questioned a lot. How can you say speed and accuracy together? Because there has been a mindset where there's a speed, there's lack of accuracy. And if there's accuracy, there's a lack of speed. But I think so in the present world, we are moving so much towards these two components, complementing each other with help of cutting edge technologies. I think so the way industry has evolved post-COVID, I will say, it has given us that platform where we can bring speed and accuracy together. And there are two key reasons for it. One, we need to reach patients quickly. I think so COVID has taught us that if we can speed up our process, what we make a difference to people. The amount of lives we save with our drugs and vaccines coming in the market. And accuracy helps us to give them the right safety and efficacy with our deliverables. So I think so it's very important that we bring speed and accuracy together. However, this is not possible if we don't have the right technology with us. So these three things are playing very vital role together to build up the future of CDM industry and many other components of pharmaceutical industry. In the future slide, you will see some of them I'm going to call out. Let's move to the next slide, which set up the stage. What happened in 2021? And I call it 2021 as a year of real disruption, where we went beyond COVID trials. I'm sure you all heard Sanjay last year when he presented what happened in 2020 and how we moved. I think so it was so important that we keep that momentum together. So beyond COVID trial, organization and industry had started thinking. All our stakeholder started thinking that how we can replicate those models beyond COVID trials. One of them is patient enrollment and recruitment. I think so. No one will disagree whether it is pharmaceutical companies, CROs, and data provider companies that patient enrollment and recruitment became so aggressive beyond COVID trials because we wanted to do more. We wanted to understand what is the need of different regions, different disease areas, and we wanted to go more. And this has become a priority for most of the organization in the industry. This has been supported pretty well with the technology. In the future slide, you will see when I talk about it, that how technology has played a role. DCT trials became reality, something which we have been talking for years, something which is there on the vision slide of every executive within our industry. But pre-COVID and post-COVID, I think so this is what we felt, that it is becoming a reality. Every organization is emphasizing that beyond COVID trials, can we make DCT trials a reality? It's not that everyone want to put all the trials on DCT methodology, but what we can do to use this technology, this way of working in the best way, so we can benefit both patient as well as organizations. Our data ingestion has revolutionized very much for the clinical trial. This team is, especially in GSK, where I'm managing this team, I can see every day there is a new way of looking into ingestion data. And I think so ingestions will become key to even support the DCT trials. Data ingestion is a key component now for the next gen technology, where we are thinking how we can simplify it, how we can work in the more standardized way that our DCT trials can be supported. And it should be with the ease, not with complexity. And AI/ML based data cleaning became reality. I think so. There was a very good discussion last year about this particular component. AI/ML 2 3 years back, I think so hardly any companies were doing except the top 2 or 3 companies who looked into it. But today you go in the industry, at least 15 to 20 companies I know from top 30, top 40 who are already investing in this. They're running trials on this. It is still not the mature one, but at least I can say it is becoming a reality for future. It is no more a buzzword. It is a word which is getting used. How much, how, when, what, we'll talk in the future slide. So let's move to the next slide, which talks about the current state of industry. What is our industry? And this, I'm taking it beyond data management. Our clinical trial site management, which is supporting DCT trials, is becoming more prominent. This is part of the strategies. People are looking to make this as an enterprise level strategy and becoming more virtual so we can have more patient centricity. There have been a lot of technology work in this area where different organizations have come up with different technologies to support how we can collect samples, to how we can ingest data, how we can aggregate data, how we can do a traceability of the data so all the compliance are met. And all this gets stitched to our regulatory requirements and compliance. Also, FDA, EMEA, and other regulatory bodies are looking into it, how they can support the industry to run more and more DCT trials and virtual ways of working. Data and quality management. And that's what I mentioned in the previous slide, AI/ML driven enterprise strategy. I can ensure you that with my own knowledge across the industry, with all the partners and peers I have been speaking to, 2 years back, there was no AI/ML enterprise strategy. It was done in silos and different buckets within the organization. Most of the organizations have moved towards an enterprise strategy now. They all have in-house AI/ML capabilities. There are better partnerships happening across the industry. They are trying to bring pharma together, CRO together, data organizations together, and then try to see what is the best use of this technology within our industry. So I will say AI/ML is now an enterprise strategy for most of the organization. The organizations which have still not opted for it, they are going for it. It's just that every organization is evaluating whether they want to have their own in-house capability versus a partner ecosystem, which they will like to explore. We are on the similar journey. I'm sure Sanjay and Arshad will agree with this too. They are on the similar journey too. EDC adoptions. Now, someone can say EDC is an old term. Why so much focus on current state of industry? So let's redefine what is EDC. In the world of DCT, every source from where you get data is an EDC platform. So what we are trying to say from EDC adoption is basically our way of capturing data is evolving. It is no more traditional CRF way of collecting data, that you need to have an eCRF where you will collect data. The non-CRF data has increased up to 60-70% on a traditional trials. You hardly have 30-40% data which is coming from CRF, and it's going to evolve further. So what is our EDC adoption is very important. How we want to get data, how we want to clean data, and how we want to aggregate data for in-stream data cleaning further. Patient recruitment and enrollment, I can say that what I have seen in this space, so much of use of analytics in the present state. There are digital ways to do predictive analytics around it, that how a patient recruitment enrollment can be more effective and efficient instead of having gaps across the board. Diversity in clinical trials, I think so all of you will agree, from United States to Europe to Asia Pac, everyone wants to invest in this. Every organization, every government, every section of society is saying that we need diversity in clinical trial. There's a huge investment going on in this area. Every organization is very mindful. I will say they are very much sensitive about it to use it in the best way. And there's an investment, there are portfolios and roles created within an organization to look into the diversity in clinical trial. And I think so this is a right segue for future. Going to the next slide, let's look into data management specifically. That's where most of us are interested to look into it. And some of these points I have taken from the innovation paper, what we had published through Patrick and Innovation Committee. Thanks to Patrick and the entire group for bringing us to it, to the reality of risk-based clinical data management. We spoke about risk-based quality management, RBQM, but the future is risk-based clinical data management. We are moving towards where we'll do value data-driven cleaning, where everything don't need to be cleaned. What is required should be cleaned. We're also working towards interactive futuristic visualization. I'm very fascinated with this particular point. I think so, as data manager, I always wondered when I will use the most enhanced, most futuristic visualization tool in my career. Whenever I compared our industry with banking, with petroleum, energy, with manufacturing, we always lagged in this area. But I think so it's a time to change. We are moving towards more futuristic visualization ways of looking out into our data, more predictive than retrospective. End-to-end AI/ML implementation of a clinical study, protocol design to SDTM mapping. And I can tell you with my own experience, we are on this journey. Each one of us are on this journey. Some have completed midway, some are close to the end point, some have just started, but we all are on this journey. This is the future. The way we are looking into our entire landscape of clinical study, this is going to play a vital role. And this will not stop here. It will take the entire data to a data fabric way of looking data end to end, where we can use data in different ways. Every organization is looking towards simpler way of clinical data flow, which can be supported by AI/ML implementation to not complicate the way we clean data and we aggregate data. Complex environment to simplify tools and process. I think so. This is a desire for all of us. With my own experience, I can tell you that when I look into the architecture of the present environments, what we have created, we are in a mess. You ask one company who can get all their study data in one place, highly impossible. Over the years, to bring and customize the technology with our need, what we have done is we have created a complex environment for ourselves, which has slowed us down so much. But future is not going to be that way. Every leader is thinking to now simplify the complex environment and a strategy that don't customize a tool to fit your process. but to use the tool in the maximum capacity and evolve your processes which are compliant to regulatory needs. I think so that's the way we are moving towards, and that's going to help us to have one simple environment versus complex. I can tell you, we are moving into that direction. Most of us are moving into that direction. And whatever the complex environments are there, we are trying to get rid of it. In next 2 to 3 years, when we'll see leaders talking about it, each one is going to put this on their key agenda to say, I want to tell my story, how I simplified my tools and processes from a complex environment. On that note, let's go to the next slide where we'll talk about what our top priorities for 2022 as an SCDM society. Thought leadership, JSCDM and innovation workstream. I'm personally very influenced with these two. This gives me a platform to think about future. JSCDM has done a fantastic work for SCDM as a society. Our journal is becoming more and more scientific. In future slides, I will show you some more numbers around JSCDM, how it has got a popularity within the industry and how people are trying to relate to it. Innovation workstream, I can talk entire day, but still it will not be over because they have really set up a stage for us where we can say that SCDM is now a truly innovative society which is moving towards it. We are thinking futuristic, we are writing futuristic, and we are looking towards expanding our footprint in that way. Certifications, data science certifications, CCDM and CCDA. Now, Sanjay spoke about CCDM and CCDS, which was data science certification last year, and I given a hint about a new certification, which is CCDA, which is for people with lesser experience, freshers who want to make a career in data management. Now, why we are coming with these three together, it is very important that we look what is the demand of the industry, we look what we have done traditionally, and we look towards the future. So CCDM is what we have been doing traditionally and will continue doing it. CCDA is to bring the freshers and the lesser experienced folks near to their CDM. And CCDS is the future, where we want people to evolve from data management to data science. Expanding corporate partnership globally. This is one thing which has done wonders for SCDM last year. Our global partnership footprint has increased, and this has helped us to get that advisory from the industry. Our corporate partners have stepped up to say they want to help the society, not only financially, but also providing volunteers to help us in delivering stuff for 2022 and 2023. It's such a great environment that we are also looking how we can enhance these corporate partnerships. And in future slide, you will see how we are going towards it. Let's move to the next slide. I call this a team which has delivered, which is delivering, and which will deliver. Let's meet the board of trustees who are helping all of us over the years. A team which, without any monetary benefit, I will say, is part of this board, a team which do over and above their day job to make sure that society is running in the best way. Calling out Arshad, who is my peer this year as a vice chair, helping me there, and Sanjay, who's the past chair. So that's why I call these two names, people who had influenced me and people who are also helping me to run as a chair this year and run the board in the right way. Maria, a great partner. Me and Maria came on board at the same year, and she's a secretary and helping me to understand how we can do things differently in education, certification, other areas. Jonathan is our treasurer, a person without whom we won't survive. Over the years, Jonathan's steer and leadership has helped us to run the board in the most successful manner. Don, Carol, Stephen, Patrick, Reza, Emmy, Meredith, and Peter. These are the strong pillars of SCDM Board of Trustees. Each one of them is empowered to run initiatives, to run different workforces and committees and deliver. One thing I can tell you in last 3 years of my board experience, what I have seen, what we committed, we have delivered. Even if there were hurdles, we had overcome it. And this team together makes it happen. People who were there in past on the board, people who will come in future on the board, I'm sure they all will come with the same mindset. And we keep inspiring each other over and above what we do into our day-to-day job. Let's go to the next slide from Board of Trustees to our strategic plan. Now, from 2022 to 2022, from 2020 to 2022, a 3-year strategy which was established. And I was lucky that I was part of this strategy when it was designed. This is the last year. We are looking towards coming up with new strategies for 2023 and beyond. But what this strategy stands for? Those who have seen this slide last year, it talked about thought leadership, education, and advocacy. And each component has its own pillars, which are helping us to drive in that direction. What I'm going to show you in the next few slides is where we stand in terms of, when I say what we said we delivered, I wanted to show you really where we stand together. Does that make sense to you? Do you able to relate to it? And also, can you help us to move forward? This is also a platform I want to invite more and more volunteers to come and help us. Without your help, this is not possible. Let's go to the next slide where we'll talk about what we are doing in thought leadership. From JSCDM to GCDMP, everything is happening under thought leadership. GCDMP, we have Arshad on the panel today. Arshad and his leadership and all the volunteers on GCDMP, along with Meredith, have really helped us to move it. We have received this feedback a few years back that GCDMP is still not updated. There's a lot of backlog. But in 2021 and in 2022, we are going over and beyond. There's a slide which I will show you later on, which will tell you where we stand in terms of the chapters on the GCDMP and how we are moving forward with that. We are making sure that we are not only looking into chapters, what is there today, but also look towards the future. And that's what I think so we are looking towards. Our JSCDM Medline indexing, I think so is going in the right direction. The way we have received articles, papers for JSCDM, I'm sure in coming couple of years, JSCDM will become one of the key journals in the industry. A journal where everyone will look forward to publish their paper, to get indexed, and also use it for education and inspiring others. Let's go to the next slide, which talks about each of these components, where we are. So if you see from boosting the clinical data science content to launching new publication platform, we are moving in a very right direction. The target, if you see here, where we want to be, is that our GCDMP is fully updated, available for people, and then there is a regular revamping of the chapters. We review the chapters on an ongoing basis without having any backlogs in future. We're also looking that GCDMP becomes the base for many other organizations who can adopt and adapt to it. At present, because the chapters are not fully updated, sometimes organizations hesitate to take it as a reference, but we are making sure that it becomes part and parcel of different organizations to use it for their data management departments. Let's go to the next one. We have launched the online journal, as you know. Now, what does the number looks like? We have got already 8,000 views with over 3,000 downloads. And if I go with Meredith's quote, this is one of the best any journal has done in such a short duration. So really, really great achievement, guys. Thanks for helping us in this. Keep reviewing it, keep contributing to it. Send your papers so we can keep publishing them. And one day we see a journal which is a global journal used by most of the industry beyond data management to publish the work. We have already revamped 5 GCDMP chapters, more to come. There is a position paper on audit trail review, a key tool to ensure data integrity. I think so we have 2,800 views for this. This publication has really helped us. And I think so most of you from the industry will be able to relate to it, that this everyone wanted to see, and it is there for you. So please go look into this position paper, try to take references, and if you want to have any feedback to give it to us, come back. Let's go to the next slide and talk about education. I think so the local educational events has helped us. A classic example is the single day event in India, which recently happened, where we have 110 students attending in a total number, which was there around 330 to 350 people in totality. 110 were students. Now that's the power of academia we want to explore. We're also looking how we can make more members from academia. There's a huge population in states in Europe, in Asia Pac, who are aligned with academia, who are not part of the core industry, but still working data management departments. We are trying to bring all of them together. If you know any academia which is left out by SCDM, please bring it to us. We'll make sure that collaboration is there. Let's go to the next slide and talk about how this is going to be. So we are in the first phase where we're trying to bring all of them together in the annual conference. The next phase is going to be where we want to create educational offering where data management and data science can become part of curriculum for different organizations. And also we need to analyze these academia institutions, how we can facilitate them further to go forward. So it's a great collaboration platform we have created. We are on a right journey. One thing we have to keep in mind is that the industry will never progress till industry and a corporate and academia come together. And I think so that's the vision we have to bring academia with us and continue doing it. Meredith, Reza, Rick, all have been helping us. Emmy, they all are helping us to bring academia together. Arshad is doing a lot of stuff in India where he has collaborated with certain institutes which are helping us to grow. So as a vision, we see it a very strong collaboration for future. Let's go to the next one. What are the highlights? We did 20 live webinars on cutting edge topics, 1,933 attendees for that. Over 25 on-demand webinars we have done, 5 online courses with over 50 attendees. We are revamping the entire education strategy in Q4 2021. That's going on, and there's a lot of effort going on to this. We're also looking how we can bring this in our corporate collaboration for future. Our SCDM China face-to-face conference with 320 attendees, SCDM Global Conference, and this is what I want to request all of you, that what you have done in 2021 for us was tremendous. Our SCDM Global Conference became one of the largest we ever did. We finalized the CCDM beta exam with over 230 participants and very well received certification. And we launched the new CCDM exam. So I think so 2021 on education was really good. 2022 is going on the similar line. The way we are correlating these, we'll do better than what we did in 2021 with your help. Let's go to the next slide. Talking about advocacy, one of the key visions was about setting up a regulatory advocacy, a dialogue between regulators and a CDM where we can represent industry. I think so this committee is not taking shape. I will not say that we are fully there, but it's something which has been done with a lot of efforts. And I think so Jonathan Andrews can add to this. He has been very instrumental for us in driving it. We are looking forward to 2022 where we can establish this full-fledged, where we can go to different regulatory bodies, talk to them, do a right advocacy, which is required for future of data management. Develop joint up advocacy that brings together key stakeholders and work across different. What is important here when I said joined up advocacy? We do a lot of different work streams within a CDM. It is very important that they get aligned at a regulation point of view. If we start working innovation which is not adhering to regulatory requirements versus JSCDM versus our education committee versus our membership committee versus our GCDMP committee, it won't be easy for us to bring all of that together. So our joint of advocacy to bring all these work streams together and talk one language is very important, and that's what we are trying to do. Can you go to the next one? Where we are on this front, from 2022 to 2022, we started with some regional expansion of teams, so we understand the different regional requirements. We looked into different volunteer management plans where we can bring a lot of people together. The more we are, the better the voice will be. And this was required to bring all those minds together to understand different advocacy requirement we have across the board. We are very positive by end of 2022, we will have a well-established regulatory advocacy team, and oral advocacy will tie up to that. So we have one voice towards the regulators. Let's go to the next one. On the thought leadership, we had already seen these numbers, and I'm sure that 2021, what we have done, will do better than that in 2022. Next slide. Let's look into what we are committing for 2022 deliverables. Education, we are talking about 12 webinars, 10 online courses, annual conference, which we are still looking whether we do full face-to-face, we do a hybrid, but if it is full face-to-face, I'll be very happy to meet all of you in US. China conference, EMEA conference, India single day event we just completed, Japan regional event. We are launching our educational annual pass token system, which will help different partners to align with us. And at last, India annual conference, which is again one key event for us throughout the year. For thought leadership, we are looking towards publishing one white paper, topic briefs, minimum six GCDMP chapter updates, 4 issues of JSCDM. From an advocacy point of view, we are going to renew our corporate partnership. We are trying to bring more standardized and more inclusive approach towards corporate partnership, where we can include more and more partners in coming years. We are revamping our committee structures. So we have a lot of committees running for years. We are looking into that, how we can bring them in a better shape. Do they need a little bit of reorganizing? Do they need a little bit of enhancement the way they are structured? We are looking for launching implement community management plan, launch regulatory council, as I said earlier, and launch academia initiative. These are our key deliverables, and I'm sure when we'll speak towards the end of this year, most of them will be ticked, because I have a team, I have volunteers in the industry with me who commits to and aligns to on these deliverables and helps us to drive this in the right direction. Can we go to the next one? This is just a snippet where we are on the GCDMP chapter updates. I think so. The ones which are looking in red, because we have still not prioritized them, but I'm already talking to Arshad, board is talking to Arshad that we need these ones to be speed up. And I'm sure these red will also get converted to green in coming months. Next one. So what is already published in GCDMP completed chapter? Data management plan section, vendor selection and management, EDC, system selection and implementation, EDC, study design and startup, EDC, study conduct and closeout, and CRF completion guidelines. What is completed? Vendor selection and management, adding project management content, and after this, the chapter will be known as project management for DM. So we are making sure that we keep progress, we keep evolving the way we have called it. It's not necessarily that we'll have the same name nomenclature for chapters over the years. We are evolving that too. Can you go to the next one? Our industry is, and one more click. Let's see where we will be. And these are my thoughts which I wanted to put together. We are thriving for innovative future. Speed and accurate data delivery is our priority, and simplified operating models is the future. And I think so this is where we all are moving. This is what we are going to do an advocacy about. This is what we want for the future, for generation to come and be part of data management industry. On that note, we can move to panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank
Kathy,
you.
over to you.
Thank you very much indeed, Mayank. So lots and lots of food for thought there. I mean, you're talking about speed, simplicity, accuracy, innovation, all big, big things. Somebody's asking you, Mayank, how did you start in the pharma business in terms of CDM? I mean, how did you move into this area?
So I'm a master's in biotechnology and always wanted to be in the wet labs and not on the data side, and started my career as a lecturer teaching human genetics to students. And then India was evolving that time. It is year 2006-07, when CDM was very new to this industry. And someone said there is a job opening somewhere where you do a clinical work, and I was surprised what I will do in clinical in Accenture, which is an IT consulting company. And when I went and I spoke to some of the leaders there, got to know what it is, it motivated me a lot to see that, oh, this is something new. But what the problem was there, Kathy, that it took me 9 years, oh no, not 9, but 7 years at least, to convince my parents that I work in a clinical industry which is relevant to what I studied and not in a call center. Because as a country, we were still educating ourselves on these jobs. So I started as a data manager for a white project in Accenture, lived my life in this. I had not done anything else apart from data management. And I continue doing it with all the passion.
That's wonderful. I mean, you talk about education in your keynote, and what about skills? Let me bring in one or two of, well, we've only got 2 other speakers. I was going to say 1 or 2 of our other speakers, but Mariah hasn't been able to join us yet. But Arshad Mohammed, what would you say in terms of talent coming into this industry? Is there a shortage, and does more have to be done to encourage people?
All right. Yeah, thank you. Great question. I think the talent, currently, I would say we do have a shortage. And I think that's a good thing to have, a good problem to have. That means industry is growing, right? And there are more opportunities for people to do that. So if you look at just last couple of years, I think there was a huge increase in number of clinical trials, especially COVID studies started, and a lot of other studies continued to grow. So there was a definite shortage of talent, and across, the types of like companies, pharmaceuticals, CROs, and technology vendors everywhere, there is a shortage. So what could be done is that we can actually have multiple facets to grow this talent. We can use one as internal teams, so you can continue to grow like what we have historically done, like who are lead data reviewers, for example, or data reviewers become lead data reviewers, and then from there they go to become leads, so that organic growth continues. But then there is a shortage of those as well. So how do you do that? So we'll have to bring in people from outside into that. So when I say outside, it could mean clinical teams, CRAs who have been project managers, who have been programmers, that could come into our data management function. Thirdly, people could come from other industries. They could come from healthcare. They could come from finance programming and come into clinical trial programming and things like that. Further, we have to look at a new ingestion of new talent from colleges, and that's where the role of institutions, both private and public, come in picture, where we ask for specific course content to be added for clinical research and clinical data management. And we are working with some universities and institutions where we have specific programs. So those are the organizations or other institutions from where we can ingest new talent and then grow them to become data managers. So train them in specific DMs and stuff. And others can add in. Sanjay, Mayank.
Yeah, I think it's a good problem to have, but I think it's a challenging time also, because we are finding it across the board. I think the issues with the resourcing, issues with, everybody talks about this great resignation, right? So people are moving and people are changing jobs pretty rapidly. Now, it does put a whole lot of burden on organizations' operations. So all of the pieces that Arsha just laid out in terms of adding additional capacity within your teams, at Adaptv, we have a pretty robust university program where we, here in the US and across the globe, we create a pipeline of talent from the universities into our organization across the board, not just specifically to data management. And those pieces, I think, are essential for us to actually build the next pipeline of talent, next pipeline of leaders for us. So that's, I think, I would just add.
Thank you. Mayank, there's this question from a viewer here saying that you were speaking about Protocults SDTM mapping. How exactly is that planned? And are things in motion to promote this through SCDM?
Sure. So I can tell you I'm living with it at this moment. We are piloting this within our own organization also, where we are looking into how we can design protocols with help of AI ML and a protocol which are more standardized. From there, how we can take that to build our studies with help of AI ML, clean our studies with help of that, and then automap the extracts. That's why I said in my slide, we are talking about AI ML as an enterprise strategy and not a siloed approach. And that is changing. If you see recently, some of the investments pharma companies have done into analytics companies come from that same mindset, that we don't want to use AML just one siloed tool to be used, but use it as an enterprise approach, which will bring us our clinical trial way within that remit and deliver faster and more accurate information. That's the approach. We can discuss it more from a SCDM point of view. We are very much aligned, I think so. In the position paper, we have spoke about it, that how the future of this digital trials will look like. And I think so that's the direction we are moving.
I'm talking about AI and ML. You were asking the question whether companies were choosing to actually source in-house or outsource. So I'd be interested to know what our other two speakers say about that from their company's perspective. There's also a question on AI and ML from one of our viewers saying it's becoming more prominent these days. So you made that very clear in your address. Would artificial neural network gain further breadth, providing impetus to overall conduct of decentralized clinical trials? So can I just ask, first of all, Sanjay, I mean, in terms of your company, Adaptv, are you outsourcing AI and ML or doing it in-house?
This is such a core capability, and I think there is a lot of IP that gets created when you write certain algorithms. So I think Adaptv has traditionally taken an approach to keep those pieces internal, but we don't have at our disposal within our organization the breadth of the data scientists that sit within the industry, right? So we do utilize some partner companies, but we have our own data science organization looking at specifically building these algorithms, building these analytics. And I'll give an example, very simple. So sites typically have, so to assess and detect some fraud at the site, is there a digit preference that the sites typically use to enter certain data? So those kind of simple algorithms, but I think very important in our space, I think is all done internally today.
Okay.
But we use partner companies as well, though.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a hybrid, but you need. I can see that in terms of keeping a key part in-house. Arshad, your thoughts on that? I don't know if you've got any thoughts specifically about this question about the artificial neural network.
Yeah, so I'll start with the AI ML part of it first. That obviously, as Sanjay said, they're working with partners. So similarly, we have our in-house technology as well as we work with partners because this is an evolving space. It's still not like completely done. So we are also working with partners as well as internal technologies to deliver solutions for specific areas. As Mayank was saying, it's not still done. Like we still don't have the whole story done for AI ML across the value chain. So we are having spot solutions, for example, data review for clinical coding, SAE reconciliation, etc., etc. But I think there'll be a day when you'll have data coming in and data going out as reports. So I'm sure sometime it will happen, more automated stuff. In terms of I think taking it beyond to further adding technologies like neural networks, I think there is still a way. We are still, I think, taking baby steps to go into that. So I think there is some time where we will, but I think we will use those technologies.
Great, thank you. Mayank, there's a question here asking how a data manager will become a data scientist and what companies can help data managers to grow in this area. I mean, you talked about this saying that the SCDM can play a really key role in bringing about this industry-wide shift towards clinical data science as such. And one of your slides suggested you needed a real definition of what that meant in terms of the profession. But so, how do you make that move and what elements needed to be added?
Sure. And I'm sure if Patrick would have been here, I would have asked him to answer this question. He's the best person, at least among all of us, to answer it. But let me do my best because I'm trying to do something similar in GSK also. The first thing is defining what is a data science from a data management perspective. A lot of time we get confused and we start linking data science role with too much of extreme biostats or extreme analytics. For a data management, I don't think so. That's the journey. We are going to be more of an end user from a data science perspective to use those algorithms to get what we want, to do slight predictive analytics on our data to define what are the different trends in the studies. So definition is one. I think so. Companies are still trying to identify that right definition for a data management to be called as data scientist. The second is the way we want to upskill them. Do we want to train them on algorithms of AI ML, or do you want them to how to use those algorithms or how to make inference from the data? Our data managers have been traditionally reviewing the data in manual or slightly automated way. We want to move from there to they start analyzing data using visualization and analytics. And I think so that's where it will go. How SCDM is going to help is very important because we just mentioned about the certification. We are going to start with SCDM, which will help people to gauge a certified way to let their organizations know, let the industry know that they are an expert in this area. They are there to help the companies to evolve in this area. So I think so SCDM advocacy around data science is going to be very critical for our industry in next 2 to 3 years when the certifications will start in this year mostly or early next year. Once we start seeing the trend. We'll also make sure what benefit it is bringing on the table. And we have a good global biopharma forum where we want to take it to tell the global biopharma leaders that, see, this is what we are bringing on the table. We want to have more partnerships there so we can have these certifications, but different organizations help them to define some curriculums. So I think so there's a clear strategy around it and we are working towards it. And SCDM will play a very vital role when industry will move in real sense to data science from data management.
Right. Arshad, let me bring you in then. And because somebody's also asking if you could list some of the skills that current managers need to upskill to get on the par with evolving trends. And also, let me ask you, because when we, in our webinar a week ago, there was some question from some companies whether you have to use the actual title of clinical data scientist or whether that matters or not. You know, does the name matter? What do you think, Arshad? First of all, let's talk about the skills, and then does the name matter? Oh, your microphone's not on. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yes, unmuted. Hope you can hear me. So in terms of skills, I think it's a combination of skills that we will need to build as data managers. So, you know, we have been cutting the roles so fine based on what each person does. So we have become very focused on specific roles, and that has been evolving over time. And I think to turn into data scientists, I personally feel that there will be some broader talent or broader skills that we need to develop. And that could be something more from a data management perspective, something learning more about statistics, something to learn more about technology, analytics, and utilizing the algorithms that Mayank was talking about. I don't think that all data managers will need to learn how to program those. I think we'll need to learn how to utilize them. So there are new technologies that help us analyze or review data using those algorithms, those systems. I think data managers will have to build and evolve further on utilizing that and visualizing data and taking out insights from that. So I think more about reading data and bringing some statistical mindset into the typical data manager will be one of the key things, and certainly evolving on new technologies, learning new technologies.
And do we have to refer to it as...
On the title? Yeah. Absolutely. I think I believe in one thing that, you know, for example, you have a goal in life, put it on a paper and stick in front of you. You read it again and again, you will go there. So I feel that is an important thing to move on and do that. And I think industry is moving towards that. I've seen a lot of companies retitle the folks, and probably we'll also go there in terms of as we get into that stage to retitle people.
So Sanjay, what do you think about this sort of the different roles that are coming in? Because there's a question specifically about that, the evolution of roles within CDM as they begin. I mean, Arshad was referring to that really there as the roles become more technical. Should the industry consider a split in the functions?
Yeah, Kathy, I think it's a great question. And I think if we were to just take a step back and say what data managers do today do not program analytics. They do not program EDC databases, right? So there are individuals with specialized skills that do that. When it comes to the clinical data science method or adding or building these algorithms, there would be those technical skills. individuals that would build it. I think the role of data management or the role of data manager as such would be, again, what Arshad and Mayank just said, utilizing and being this what we call the process managers, ensuring that the machine is performing as expected, and as and when the machine doesn't perform, that it helps, meaning the data manager helps train the machine a little bit better. So I think that's in a concept way. I think that's where the role of DM would be. In terms of specific titles or different functions, there would be technical functions just like we have today, right? And there would be functions and people, we call them data managers today, that those also will exist. The utilization of technology, the applying the risk-based quality management to the data, and applying the AI and machine learning methods to review and clean data. I think that's the angle we need to explain to our society in general. And there will be a paper, by the way, that from SCDM towards the later half of this year from our innovation committee that will hopefully put an end to this debate. What is clinical data science? So it'll be a position paper from SCDM. I would also encourage individuals to go and read our third paper in the series of the evolution that talked specifically about the skills and the competencies for the future of data management. So hopefully that will provide a lot more than just a few comments today.
Great. Okay. Well, that's great. Let's move now to sort of clinical trials and the speed of clinical trials, because you said right at the beginning, Mayank, that the whole aim is to reach patients quickly. So how do you go about making clinical trials faster? And when we see this sort of the momentum that's built up in COVID towards decentralized trials, is that momentum going to continue? I mean, how do you see the whole clinical trial area developing now in the next few months? Well, or next year?
Yeah, I think so. The half of the speed will come if we can simplify the way we are organized and we work. Over the years, we have complicated so much our processes and our systems that we are slowed down. So half of the work can be done if we can simplify for ourselves. And I can take an example. Try to challenge why you need to do certain steps to deliver data. Try to challenge why you need this long loop step to deliver a data. Try to challenge the way your data is getting converted. Try to challenge how you visualize your data on a day-to-day basis. I think so. There are different points within our processes which we need to challenge. And if we just do a simple simplification the way we are presently organized, that itself will bring a lot of efficiency. I can tell you with my experience, the way we have improvised is almost like 30% in a year's time from what we were. So our speed has gone up by 30% already. The other way to speed up is to bring the technology which will enable you. Don't try to change the entire landscape of the technology. Use the technology as an enabler and keep the technology in its true shape. Don't customize this too much. Generally, what happens when we are running clinical trial, we try to customize too much. And in this customization, what happens, your process goes back what it was 5 years back. So don't customize the tools to meet your specific requirement. First thing is very important. Even if you need that requirement, do you really align that with your regulatory requirement is important. So keep that part simple. Your enablers has to be very clearly to help you out. Third and the last one, which is very important, is that do we know what is the future going to be from a data point of view? When I say that, do we have a right strategy where we can accommodate all the data together to help for future insight? How many organizations today have a right set of data lakes or data fabric strategy to do that job? Very few. But the future will be, it's not only how you conduct your trial, but also how you are going to collect all this information in one place and use for future refinements of the therapeutic areas, the vaccines and medicines. So it is very look into these three aspects together and then design our strategies. These will help us to be speed. On the speed, this will help us to be accurate. And also for future, if we need to reuse the data, the reusability can become more and more easier for us.
Let me ask you.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Let me just ask the other two speakers specifically about your companies, what you are doing in this area, what changes you're seeing, and whether you are able to achieve extra speed through something you're doing specifically. So, I mean, Arshad, at LabCorp, is there something that you are doing that's really hoping to speed things up?
Yeah, as you said in the example, like DCT, that's one real focus of our organization, where, as you know, we learned a lot in terms of how a lot of trials moved midstream into a decentralized model. And it was a different mix of models, like fully remote to decentralized, partly, or a hybrid. And what we are seeing is more and more of a hybrid studies, where part of this trial could be a decentralized mode versus some could be classical. And I think that's where it'll run for a few years. I think that's where we will be. It will not be a complete decentralized or a complete classical. And so we are really investing a lot in terms of how we can, support DCT trials across the value chain, whether it's a nursing network, home nursing network. I mean, you have phlebotomists where they can go and get blood from home, shipping and delivery partners for drugs, devices, etc. Transporting, like companies like Uber and things like that. So how do you streamline the entire clinical trial and make it easy for the patient? So making it patient-centric.
That's interesting. Yeah. So really thinking out of the box like that. So what about Adaptv, Sanjay? Anything specific? Have you got Uber on board there?
So I think supplying the drugs directly to the patients, I think, is definitely a challenging area, especially in the cases where assets like ours have not sort of the pill the patient takes, right? So that is problematic. So how do we make clinical trials faster, right? Very quickly, I know we are running out of time. Asset strategies in each of our companies underpin the time of filing and marketing of any asset that we have in our portfolio. And believe me, those plans are pretty aggressive as is, without us in data management having to push it in some way. In fact, we sometimes fall victims of the speed that's thrown at us. Going back to what Mayank was saying, right? So what do we do in data management? So here's what we have done at Adaptv. We have taken the clinical data management systems out of the critical path for the study startup activities as much as possible. We've got an 8-week sprint. We put our systems in production and make it sort of a non-issue for our study starts. Having said that, we do run into some expectations where it would be very difficult to deliver a system within 3 to 4 weeks' time from a protocol approval or with a late feedback from the regulatory agencies. But we do work at risk in those cases, and we have our vendors do the same, and we apply a SWAT team sort of a method to meet those aggressive timelines. So what I'm saying is asset strategies is what is pushing the start of the clinical trial or the lack of the clinical trial. In terms of making experience of the patients and physicians better, a lot's going on. Arshad talked about digital, but hybrid decentralized trials is the one way to do it, allowing patients to participate in multiple different ways. And we are not using Uber. In fact, it is very hard to inject by an Uber driver or even a phlebotomist the kind of immunology therapies that we provide. So it is essential for some of those visits where the patient has to be in the clinic and be seen by the physicians. But
of course. Yeah. There's a need for hybrid at times. We get that. Listen, we are running out of time, but there was just one interesting last question. I want to ask you all to answer it in less than 30 seconds, really less than 30 seconds. So it says, we're talking about the future. So when AI and ML algorithms are developed, which solve most of the problems, data scientist roles, what will they be in 10 to 20 years' time when AI and ML is taking over the world? 30 seconds to, what would you say, Sanjay?
Well, the role of data managers will exist. It may not be doing exactly what it does today, but managing and touching and ensuring that data is still credible, reliable. Machines will take that data reliability and credibility to a certain level. And I think as our algorithms become more sophisticated, I think there would be a lot more of an automation. But I said it earlier, we need data managers, not just today, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, to be the human in the loop type of a person.
Human in the loop. Arshad, what would you say?
Absolutely agree, fully agree that human will be more important as it is today. And to run those systems, we will need people.
Good, thank you. And Mayank?
So for us, our existence was questioned when EDC came from paper 15 years back, but we still exist. This question is still now, after 20 years, we still exist because human in loop will always be there to support these technologies for future.
Okay, that's very, very reassuring, I'm sure, to everybody. Well, thank you all very much indeed. We're very sorry that Mariah couldn't join us in the end, but you three have done a sterling job. It's been fantastic. And as Mayank was saying, that many more possibilities during the year to be discussing all these issues with SCDM colleagues. There's the San Antonio Congress in September. There are regional congresses in EMEA, India and China. So lots of time to speak more and discuss more. So the very best to you, Mayank, for the year ahead in the chair. As I said, Sanjay knows all about it. And Arshad, I think you will be in the chair next year. So we have got our triumvirate here. Thank you all three very much indeed. And thank you all very much for watching. Thank you for the questions, very lively audience, which is always nice to see. Before you log off, can I just ask you to complete the evaluation to let us know what you thought of the webinar. So it just helps in the design of future events. So for now, from all of us here, goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, bye.